This is part number 10 of a series of videos for the step-by-step restoration of a Singer Model 337. Before I get too far into it, if you watched some of my earlier videos, you saw the one for the inspection, and that's where I made my list that I wanted a new belt and some new bed cushions or rubber feet. I did order a new check spring for the tension unit, even though the one in there looked pretty good. I mean, this was $1.46, so not a big expense when you're restoring a beautiful machine like this. And I also pulled a couple of new felts, spool felts. I buy these by the 100 because they're so much cheaper, and I pulled a couple of new ones out to put aside in my parts shoebox. So my deliveries have come in of the stuff I ordered, and I've got the machine stripped down pretty good, as much as I wanted. And I've set it up on some plastic here because I'm going to do a little pre-cleaning before I clean the whole body. And I don't want any of the cleaner to drip on my little workstation. A couple of things. I did pull out the presser foot bar assembly and the presser foot lever here. That's really what I wanted to get out because I like to clean around the screw back there. There's always pretty mucky in there, and you can't take the screw out that holds that lever in without taking the needle bar. And as I showed in the other video, I just simply took out the big thumb screw and spring and the bar and the little mechanism with the set screw right here and pulled it all out. So I'll be cleaning that with the rest of the small parts. And while I was inside looking around, I decided to take out the little chrome holder and button that is the bobbin winder thread tensioner button here, because it's only involves taking out one screw up in here and lifting it out. So that's the only other thing that I took off. And to get started, I have my favorite cleaner, as I've talked about before, and I've opened it up and poured a little, a tablespoon or two into a little cup here, so I have easy access to it. And what I usually start doing is taking the interdental pick, little brush to clean between your teeth with, or a Proxa brush, and I dip it in there, and I put some of that in all the little screw holes that when I do the spray it doesn't always get in there, so I just put it in there like that, in any of the smaller screw holes. It always seems like dust and crud gets in there, so I like to do that. I put some into the screw holes where I took out the feed dogs, and again I have, you can see already that there's some grease and so forth coming out of there when I do this. I think I mentioned before, I have soaked the steel and aluminum parts overnight even in this cleaner without any harmful effect. But I don't like to leave it on any glossy paint at all. And just a reminder, I've never done any of the old black Singers with the gold decals. I have no idea what that cleaner would do to that kind of japanned finish. So that's one way that I pre-clean. The main thing in this, well, let's take a look at the bottom before I do the top here. This bottom is pretty clean, but when I'm looking, I see that from past oil, there is varnishing and a buildup on a couple of these places. So I'm going to touch those up a little bit because there's probably layer after layer of that kind of old oil. So this is where my little toothbrush comes in. I'll just get a little bit on there and use it to dab on there. Really, with this kind of a cleaner, you just really let the chemical do the work. And I just like to put it on the areas where there's a heavy buildup. Because when I clean the whole thing, I don't want the paint soaking in this product for too long. I will say that the eggshell finish of these 1960 and 70 machines is a lot durable than the flat or the smooth, shiny finish of the 40 and 50 machines. I really like this newer eggshell. I thought maybe they went from an enamel to an acrylic paint or something, and that's why it seems to hold up better. So again, I'm just pre-treating some of the heavier areas. I can see, like this one that was really built up here, it's already got everything off. The chemical's already kind of dissolved or loose in the grease, and that's how quick this cleaner can work, and why I use it. So if I've got anything built up, I usually pre-treat it before the big cleaning. And one area that I definitely need to and want to work on with this is this the gears up here that have the layers and layers of this old dry sticky brown grease. I've seen that a few times, and I don't know if that was like the original factory grease, if that's what they used back then. Just trying to get this where you can where you could see this a little bit better maybe. So this is a good place that I like to pre-treat. I just kind of slather that oil on. You could use Q-tips, I guess, or a paintbrush or a barbecue sauce brush. This worm gear up here looked kind of particularly nasty, and it interfaces with the gear on the bottom of the little cam stack. And so I want to be sure and get this nice and wet with this cleaner. You can scrub it a little bit, but and then where the vertical shaft gear over here meets up with the horizontal shaft in here that you can't see, I'll get some of that way down in there too and get it on those gears and start that process of breaking down the old layers here. And let's see if I can rotate that a little bit so that I can get some more on there. Sometimes after I do what I call the main wash, I'll still have to come back and do a little bit of this. Maybe you remembered these barbecue sticks, teriyaki sticks, or I just call them barbecue sticks that I bought at the dollar store. Those can be pretty good to get in there and kind of loosen up that heavier brown sticky grease. So by pre-treating it like this, I've found that I got a better chance of getting most of it off during the main wash. See if I can get a little bit more over here, and then I'll go ahead and rotate it by hand and get some in there. It's starting to soften up a little bit, so I'll go ahead and scrub it. There's not much harm that a nylon bristle toothbrush can do to a machine like this. So let's try and get it in here with the, of course, rotating it like that can help break that stuff up. I'm starting to see the out edges of the gear becoming clean, and I'm seeing more and more steel underneath these layers of grease here. The first machine I ever did, the 603, I probably used a pint of alcohol and 100 Q-tips just trying to clean this gear. I'd scrub it with alcohol and the toothbrush and try and wipe everything up with some Q-tips, and over and over and over. And when I found this cleaner and saw how quick it cuts through that grease and oil and the dust, dried up dust embedded in dried grease and oil, that's why I was so excited about it. This is really starting to look good. Let me try and get some more over in here. And I had one machine that I did in my earlier years where it was two steel gears meshed together, and I had read about not taking them apart, and if you had to mark them so that you could put them back together. And I did take out the main shaft and take out those gears to clean them on a polishing wheel. And I had a heck of a time getting them back together, and honestly I don't think they ever really meshed the same. I didn't polish the teeth of the gear. I was trying to get some rust off of this main bar. So I think some moisture had settled in there and got stuck in the old thread dust, which is also why I usually don't use compressed air to clean a sewing machine, especially around the bobbin area. People like to spray that, and that compressed air comes out with some condensation and mixes with that thread dust and blows it into the gearing and the corners of the machine, and then that dust is damp, and it'll hold moisture in the future in climates that are more humid than Arizona, and you get all these little pockets of rust in there, which, after I cleaned a few machines, I would always see all this rusty thread stuck in the corners and stuff, and I finally figured out what was going on. So I have a vacuum. I can reverse the intake and exhaust, so I'll blow stuff out with the vacuum, and I'll vacuum stuff out. Once you take the bobbin out, there's not much the vacuum can suck up except dirt and thread. So I don't have any problem with that, putting the whole vacuum hose right over the top of the tension unit and running the vacuum for a few seconds to clean it out. I'm starting to see this gear pretty good now. It's breaking down this. This one it's harder to reach, but this had a black gunk underneath the brown gunk. So I'm not sure what that was, but it's really starting to break up nice here. I think that's going to be about it. All this other stuff it'll come clean just by spraying the cleaner on and washing it off. So I'm not worried about that. It's just this built up layer after layer And like I said, this machine is not bad. I found machines with 4 different layers of grease on them. Well, 3 layers of grease, and one was that, I forget what that black powder is, but it was between a couple of layers, and I had a devil of a time getting that out, believe me. Yeah, I still got some of that black stuff is built up in the creases here. So we'll see. I'll get as much off as I can in the main wash, and like I said, there's been a few times I've had to come back and spot clean a little bit more, but I think that's enough for now. You can see just from this maybe how that looks, and how much grease that got off onto the brush that rinsed here. And there's liquid now down in here, which is why I put the bag, but it's all dark like this or darker. I'm going to put that all to the side here, and I think, let me take a look at the end here. Yeah, you can see where that cleaner came through, and maybe you can see it down here on the bag, and it's dripping down the front here now and everything. So that's why I gave up on the Q-tip method, and I do the method I'm going to show you in a little bit here. Getting all this stuff wet has really brought out the musty tobacco smell. There was some of that brown grease, if you remember, on the hand wheel, which greasing the screw, the release knob here, that really doesn't do anything for anybody, so I'm not sure why somebody did that. But there's some in here that you can't see in the video, but I'm just gonna put a little bit of that in there too. And so that's kind of a pre-treatment. So I take my worst rag when I do this, and I'll kind of clean up the machine, and so I don't drip all over the floor. But I'll go set this up now. For the most fun of cleaning one of these is when you clean the whole body, and to see how these things look all grimy and cruddy and greasy, and you know, you wash it and dry it, and then you take a look at it and you smell it, and it's quite incredible. It's one of the most fun parts of cleaning the machine. So I'll go set that all up. And one more thing here. Since I didn't remove this knob or this post here, I'm just going to be sure some of that gets in there, but it's coming out clean. So the spray will get in there and clean that. I'm going to go get all set up for washing the machine, and then I'll start up from there. So don't go away. Okay, we are outdoors now on my patio, so I hope the audio is okay. You're going to hear traffic maybe and neighbors or whatever, but a picture's worth 1,000 words anyway. I'm set up on an empty 5-gallon bucket, and I'm going to start on the underneath of the machine, and I'm just going to start spraying it with the crud cutter, so that the chemicals can do the job. I guess I better open the bottle. Let's try again. So you might have noticed I give a little extra shot to any gearing or anything that moves. Those are usually kind of the oil points also, so that's where most of the crud will be built up. And let me switch this over to the other side, and then we'll continue. Okay, I've flipped this over, so you can see I have the bobbin end kind of leaning down into the bucket. And I'm going to spray it again with special attention to those gears where I had all the buildup of crud. Now, it wouldn't hurt to rotate the gears some, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to get it up so I can do the needle bar and bobbin areas. Okay, I have it sitting upright on the bucket now, and you can see some brown staining on the bed where that chemicals run through, so I want to finish this up pretty quick. I'm going to be spraying the bobbin area. And usually what I find is I get to a point on this where I cannot turn the shafts anymore. I grab the handwheel shaft and that stuff starts breaking loose and clogging up the gears and everything, and I can't even turn the gears. So it's been sitting on there for a little bit now, so I'm going to just get my garden hose and I'm going to start rinsing that off. If I can maneuver around here, and there we go. I'm going to give it one more light spraying of the body, the paint, just to make sure that I covered everything on that. And then I'm going to rinse it off some more. Let me get it set up at another angle. Okay, I flipped it down in there so the handwheel end will drain into the bucket. I'll give it some more rinsing. I'm going to flip it over so I can get to the underside real good. Alright, let's do the underside. You can see that chemical kind of foam up like a soap when you wash it off. It looks really good. Almost got my camera wet there. It looks really good. I'm gonna let it drip dry a little bit, and then I'll change this around a little and get it set up for drying the device. And I'll look it over and make sure I feel I got it rinsed. If I see any stubborn stuff left, I might give it some spot spraying, and wash it again. But let me get it set up. Okay, I've got it set up to dry now. I'm doing this out here. I do not have a utility sink or a shop, anything like this. I used to wash little parts at a time and dry it with a hair dryer, and man, it just took forever. So this is, as you can see, is pretty quick. I got my trusty leaf blower here. I'm sorry for the noise, so you might want to turn your volume down, and I'm going to start drying it. Here we go. Okay, that's noisy, huh? But I got it nice and dry now. There's still be a little residual moisture in some of the gearing area and the shaft oil points, but that'll dry it pretty quick. I'm going to transfer it back to my work table and get it set up to show you how I do. Well, actually, I think I'm about done with this video. So that'll be part number 10, how to pre-treat it. Treat it with the crud cutter, and then wash it and dry it. And I think video 11, I'll show you what I do with this after, because I do some pre-oiling right away to protect the metals. Very, very bare now. The chemical just really strips everything off of it. So that'll be video 11, I guess, is what happens after this. And before I go, I just want to show you this bucket was empty when I started, and it's now got about 3 gallons of water and about 4 to 6 ounces maybe of the crud cutter. I'm not sure about that, but even diluted by 3 gallons of water, look at how dirty and dark that water is. So even the machine didn't look bad, and you know, you can wipe it down outside and wipe some of the parts. That's still everything that was left. So I'll guarantee you there's no more musty smell, no more cigarette smoke smell. The chemical really doesn't have an odor, so it really gets it clean, and for me it's relatively quick. Thanks for watching part 10, my wash and dry of a Singer sewing machine, and I hope to catch you in the next video. Take care.